What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. We're here once again for career mode, episode number 28 for the Belgian Grand Prix. Now, it's actually been quite a while since I've made this video, since I've edited this video. A lot of the time, I have to pretend like I don't know what's going to happen. And genuinely, for this episode, I don't know what's going to happen because my memory's that bad. But anyway, let's get into another episode. More daily dilemmas at the team.
You handled that well. Thank you.
Prioritizing team acclaim over cash because we've got a bit of an abundance of that right now. 6 mil in the purse of Marduk Motorsport right now. We're currently saving up for Rosberg's contract renewal because that's coming up. And I think he costs around 6-ish million as it stands. So yeah, we've got to be able to afford him. So yeah, don't exactly want to be in a position where I can't afford to hire my teammate for the second half of the season. Anyway, front wings are being applied. What was that for? Downforce, drag reduction. I've actually missed it. I think it was for drag reduction. Heading into the Belgian Grand Prix, there's quite a break between Silverstone and Spa, as you guys know on the calendar. So yeah, we've got a lot of time to squeeze in updates, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We've had a couple of failures so far, which is not ideal. It's going to cost some resources to recover those losses. So engine power was going to go on in time for this race. It actually might still be able to go on if we can recover a few more resource points in the next round of things coming in. But I think the turnaround is actually a bit too close for that to squeeze in. So unfortunately, engine power won't go on in time for this race. We can do the DRS mechanism. We do have enough resource points for that. I would have preferred engine power, but with the with the screw-ups in factory this week, it's not an ideal situation. So we're gonna maybe be underdone heading into this race. I think a lot of other teams are going to develop quite quickly in the build-up to this race. In terms of department upgrades, like I said, I don't want to do this stuff because all the stuff that we want to do now costs 5, 6, 7 million. That's our entire budget for Rosberg.
Okay, we've had the new parts come through the fabrication process. We'll have them with us for the next Grand Prix. How do you want us to deal with this one?
So yeah, I think we're going to be in a bit of a dilemma. We're going to have to save a lot of money over the course of the rest of the season in order to be able to do any more facility upgrades. We're going to come to a point where we'll hit a ceiling and we won't be able to do anything. But in terms of this dilemma, we're going to favor getting the R&D points. We'll get so many more.
Not an easy decision, but you handled it well. Thanks.
Well, a much better scenario to get nearly 400 than to get a 10% discount on something else. So that works in my head. And yeah, that's the way we are going to go. We are going to do engine power now, but it won't go on in time for this upcoming race. It will go on in time for Zandvoort. Yeah, just a necessary evil to take there. It's not an ideal upgrade to bring to there, but it's an upgrade that we will need for the race after, which is Monza. Now, heading into this race, we have some rain potentially on the horizon. Upgrade-wise, Red Bull are now the best car in F1. McLaren have improved quite a lot, as has Ferrari. Mercedes have brought some upgrades, but not as many as their rivals. And we, of course, leapfrog Aston Martin to now be head of the midfield. There's now a bit of a gulf in performance between us and the top 4 teams. It's no longer Red Bull and Mercedes anymore, like it is in real life. In the game, it's the top 4 teams fighting for the championship, and we find ourselves in the top 3 in the standings, which is somewhat of a miracle. We have had a few lucky races here and there, but I feel like we might have pushed our luck because, well, it's not working off the track, and we don't have the performance on the track to back that up anymore. But let's head into qualifying. Okay, so here we go for qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix. I do want to get out there ASAP. It looks like there might be some rain on the horizon or something like that. I say I want to get out there. I've done the complete opposite. This is probably the downside of me not remembering what I did all those days ago. But we've actually gone out at the end of the session. Maybe it was drying out towards the end, so that's the reason for that. We're going out just to use the one set of tyres. I want to use more sets later on in qualifying. I find that if I go out very, very early on in Q1, I'm almost tempted to go out again on another new set of tyres, and I don't want to do that. I feel like the car is at a stage where we can comfortably get out of Q1, and so we're just going to go out when the track is at its best and do ourselves some favours there. So our bank at time puts us P7. Again, that's pretty much best of the rest. In fact, we're ahead of both the Ferraris, which is saying something. But second lap, not so good. Not so good. The rear tyres, I think, overheated there. And we pushed the limits a little bit too much into no name and got on the curb, and that was all she wrote. Somehow we were able to keep it off the barrier. Or did we? As we look super close. Oh, we shaved a tiny corner of the front wing off. But relatively unscathed as we get through Q1. P7, 6/10 clear of Nico Rosberg, which is interesting. Maybe he's not running a new engine for this weekend, much like we are. We're running the best engine components we've got. And some of those are 0% heading into qualifying one. So that's where the performance is. Q2, things level up a little bit more with Nico putting in a better time. I also did that time on a used set of softs. We're going to go out there again and see what we can do on a new set of tyres. So here we go, Q2. This is the business end of the session. Can we make it through to Q3? Who knows? Our qualifying performances have been a little bit all over the place lately. And, well, on track, it's all over the place as well with the balance of the car riding over the curbs through Les Combes. It is a bit of a nightmare to get the car through there. Touch the inside part of Les Combes and, well, the car can go spinning quite easily. 2/10 up on this particular lap on our previous best. Let's see if we can dip into the 39s. We're going to have to if we want to safely get through to qualifying 3. But, yeah, we're finding chunks of time now. Half a second up through the middle sector, which I'd have to say is the car's weakness compared to the AI. It always has been in the F1 games. The AI is just very good through the middle sector. We, of course, take downforce off to make us more of an overtaking threat, and it means that we can defend a whole lot easier. We just have to park the bus through the middle sector, essentially. But we pretty much maintain our advantage through the final part of the lap. We improve by 6.5 tenths, and we go pole position in Q2. But that's quickly diffused by Daniel Ricciardo and Valtteri Bottas. That was a surprise. Provisionally P1 for a few moments there, and then Ricciardo just casually pops in a time 8 tenths faster and puts us back in our place. Okay, so a lot of people were on mediums in that session. Hamilton down in P12. He's been knocked out. So that's not a good strategy for Lewis there. That's not good for his championship. He is the championship leader. And that is the championship permutations there. So I think the goal for tomorrow now is just to keep Lewis behind. And if we can beat him, then we'll be cutting into his championship lead, believe it or not. So things are looking pretty good in this Belgian Grand Prix, and the race hasn't even got underway. But for Q3 now, it looks like the rain is imminent, and we're going to go out there straight away and get a bank of time in, because this could well turn into an actual pole position for this racetrack. Myself and my teammate are the first ones out of the box and onto the track to set a competitive time. And I'll tell you what, if it does rain anytime soon, then myself and my teammate are in the box seat to get pole position for this race. So let's hope it starts raining right about now so that we can get the best run of the track so far. But it's not raining as quickly as what is forecasted. I thought it was going to be raining literally straight away, but seems it's holding off for the time being, and that's going to invite some of the bigger teams to have a fair shot at this as well. 39.0 for our lap, which I think is pretty darn competitive. We do beat our teammate Rosberg. Sainz sandwiches between the two of us, and I'm pushing on for another lap to see what I can squeeze out of this set of tyres. So here we go, heading into Les Combes. It is raining now. Lando pops in the best time And there we go. We spun on what is almost an auto spin curb. And that could well be our session done and dusted for Q3. Apparently we got underbody damage for some reason. But, you know, there it is in the game on sim damage. In the end, it's P7. The track did get worse. And, yeah, we didn't get that second time in, unfortunately. So, P7, P9 for Marduk Motorsport. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. We probably could have got a bit more out of that session, but that's the way it's gone, really. So we'll hope for some grid penalties. We do have a good car in the race, so who knows? Anything's possible.
All right, I think we can call that a successful qualifying. We should be in with a good chance in the race.
Welcome along then to the Belgian Grand Prix, the race that gave us the maiden victory for the Jordan team in 1998. And in the same team, the phenomenal debut of a young Michael Schumacher. There's always something special around one of the many corners of this fan-favourite circuit. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. And it's fantastic to have you with us here today, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn one. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Perez, Charles Leclerc and Verstappen, Benjamin, Sainz, Rosberg and Esteban Ocon, Gasly, Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel and Stroll, Armstrong, Tsunoda, George Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi, Latifi, Tigtum, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
P1 and P2 for McLaren on the grid of the Belgian Grand Prix. Let's hope those two romp away with the victory today, because I need them to take points off of Mercedes. Bottas is still a championship threat in this. I don't know. Why am I talking as if I am in the hunt for the championship? Who knows? If we continue development, then maybe. But we need days like today to go our way. And if we can get top 5, if we could get podium and take some points off of Mercedes, that would be absolutely golden. We need as many points as we can heading into Zandvoort, because that might be a rough one for us. 5 red lights, and we are underway for the Belgian Grand Prix. And it looks like a pretty good start there, up against some of our rivals, starting on the soft compound tyres. Going to dive bomb Verstappen into turn 1. Those Red Bulls are looking pretty fiery on the performance index. Not so well on the track, it seems, when you put it all into practice. But yeah, first couple of corners done and dusted, and yeah, we gained a place, so we're looking pretty good. Can we get Sergio Perez and maybe even Charles Leclerc on the run into Lecom? These guys are going to be side by side, holding each other up. I'm actually saving a little bit of fuel there, lifting and coasting. Just a minor precaution to see if the fuel load is at optimal levels just yet. What I mean by that is are we going to have to do a crap ton of fuel saving to get to the end? I'm kind of finding out on the fly, aren't I? So I'm going a little bit more aggressive with the fuel load this race. We've been a little bit too conservative in races gone by. As you can see, Max Verstappen putting us under a ton of pressure through the middle sector. That's where we're going to be quite vulnerable, particularly to the Red Bull, who has all the downforce in the world. But it means for those guys that we're pretty much unovertakeable. We'll find out what happens and what the balance is like once the DRS gets enabled, but for the time being, we are one of, if not the fastest car in a straight line. McLaren being probably our closest rival on that front. But you can see purple first sector, green in the middle, What's Sector 3 going to be like? The rotation at low speed is actually pretty good. We've set up the car for that. Most competitive setups on the F1 game are good for low speed. Not so much for high speed. And that's where the compromises lie. So, yeah, we're just having to fend off the AI through the high-speed corners. We are under pressure at certain times. And it feels like, if anything, maybe the tyres aren't really working in this first stint, because we can't really seem to do much. There's a yellow flag back there. Is that Lewis Hamilton? No, it's my teammate. It's Nico Rosberg. He's out of the Grand Prix with an engine failure. And Lewis was the guy who was kind of held up in all of that. So there only remains one Marduk Motorsport car on the grid for today's race. And it's been a little while since, as a team, we've had a failure. We've had one car out. Let's hope that's not a bad omen for the race. I have taken newer, or pretty much new engine components, and sometimes that's when the failures happen, is when you take a new column of components. Anyway, side by side with Max into Lacom. And we hold on. Just for now. That is the power of DRS and the fastest car on the grid. But yeah, we're doing our best. You can see the rear end is not exactly compliant at this phase of the Grand Prix. I think I am overheating the tyres through the middle sector, and it's just not a happy recipe. I wasn't able to hold on to the slipstream and DRS of Sergio Perez ahead of me, crucially at the lap 3 mark, and yeah, he's got away. And you can see the rear tyres now are suffering. 108 degrees on the left rear. They really are suffering in this stint. So this first pit stop, it can't come soon enough, to be honest. I'm getting warned about rain as well. Imminent in about 5, 10, 15 minutes time. So there's two ways we can look at this. We can go for an undercut now, get off these tyres, and try and gain some ground on the race leaders. But then we might have to guarantee an extra stop to get onto intermediate tyres. Or the contra strategy is we just stay on these softs and hope that they get a second wind and stay out long enough for the rain to hit. That is the other option. And I think I might take that second option. Team radio?
Dries seem like the best tyre for now.
Okay, thanks Jeff. I wanted an update on the weather. But now I have no idea when the weather's coming, so cheers for that. Bottas is into the pit lane, so a lot of the leaders on soft compound tyres can't run any longer. They're having to switch to mediums, and there goes Bottas. So these are a few positions gained for us. The two people we are racing in this Grand Prix are the Mercedes. They're the two that I desperately want to beat. Verstappen, not so much. He's actually behind us in the championship standings, I think. So maybe we can afford to let him go, take his DRS, or are we going to get greedy and just try and keep everyone behind at this stage? You can see the tyres really are struggling at this phase, and now it looks like the rain has arrived at the halfway stage of this Belgian Grand Prix. Lap 10, and I think we might be coming in maybe next lap. Next lap seems pretty safe for intermediate tyres. I think this lap is going to be too soon for that. You can see Verstappen is now having a go on the back straight and the run into Blanchimont. You don't want to be running side by side through there at the best of times, let alone when the track is diminishing in terms of its grip levels. But
you're doing well out there. Keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain. 10 minutes. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
Okay, 10 minutes of rain. So it is going to stick around for a little while. I asked that because I was thinking about, just thinking about maybe switching to medium compound tyres and just running to the end, sticking it out on dry tyres on a wet track if it was only going to rain for a minute or two. But it looks like a switch to inters is definitely on the cards. Here comes Max Verstappen up the inside into the Blanchimont corner. You can see how close he was there. And, well, a lot of respectful racing given there. We're going to stay out one more lap because the track still isn't quite ready for intermediate tyres, in my opinion. But here's the replay between us and Max Verstappen. There's actually a little bit of front wing damage for us there, which wasn't brought up on the MFD. But, yeah, hopefully that isn't costing us any time. Verstappen does pit, and he's pitted for... Come on, tell me. Intermediate tyres. So, the AI are in for the wet tyres, the intermediate tyres. Hamilton is in as well, and he's actually quite a long way back from Verstappen. Is he actually going to be able to reclaim some of that ground of where the Mercedes should be? And that's a double stack for Ferrari. Carlos Sainz getting the raw end of that stick, and he's actually just put on hard compound tyres only a matter of laps ago, so that's actually pretty rough for him. Sainz not having a good day, and it looks like neither are we, as it looks like maybe the track has probably past its best in terms of dry compound running. This is going to be a very long lap to get to the end, and there we go. There's the DRS to say, well, that's the problem with Spa, is that the punishment is so large if you get the pit lap wrong when you're changing to a different compound of tyre. It's bad enough on any circuit, but especially here, because we've got to put up with the wrong tyre on the wrong track for nearly 2 minutes. So we're going to lose a lot of time. I think we might lose, or definitely going to lose out to Verstappen, but the amount of time that we've lost out to Bottas as well, he's caught us by multiple seconds on this lap alone. And in we go into the pit lane. We have finally drawn a close to this soft compound tyre stint. Another lap and they probably would have got punctured. But yeah, there we go. 70% on the front left. We're going to be onto the intermediate tyres. Bottas is very, very close and definitely a threat of actually overtaking us into the pit lane here. Onto the intermediate tyres we go to 3.1 second stop. And that has just cost us another place. Bottas is through for P5. And we rejoin on the circuit. Verstappen is nowhere to be seen. He's at least 5 seconds up the road. Hamilton is 6.3 behind. But yeah, crucially, the position we gained by staying out long on the soft. Bottas stopped early for mediums, and he's made up that pit stop again. So effectively, we've lost a spot to Bottas, and now Hamilton isn't too far behind now in this race. If he has a good end to the Grand Prix, then he could well be on us in the final laps, but that depends on whether our pace is any good or not. But it seems like, at least up against Bottas, it's not the best. Hamilton is struggling in a battle against Charles Leclerc. He's actually just been overtaken by Carlos Sainz. Hamilton's out of the Grand Prix. So that's one less Mercedes we have to worry about in this one. And that is absolutely horrible for his championship hopes. The championship leader is out in Spa. So I think no matter what happens now, as long as we finish in the points, we are going to cut into the championship leader's lead. Can we get Bottas though? We seem to be regrouping a bit of pace compared to him. 7 laps to go, and the gap is it's within a second now. So we're finding pace against the Mercedes. I don't know if the track is drying up, whether these tyres are phasing in better, whether the tyre wear is better than the Mercedes, but whatever's happening, it's swinging the favour. It's swinging the momentum in our favour. So let's see if we can keep this up. 8/10 to Bottas, but the problem is we don't exactly have the pace in the right areas. We lose so much time through the middle sector that we spend the entirety of Sector 3 and then Sector 1 actually just trying to catch up to him. If we were on Bottas's rear wing coming out of Turn 1, then we'd be half a chance to overtake into the Les Comps chicane. But we're constantly a second back. DRS has now been enabled once again, meaning we'll be back on dry compound tyres probably on this lap. So let's make sure we get the timing right this time. And I don't know, maybe the AI, if they get it wrong, then we could be set for maybe something massive in this Grand Prix. The final 3 laps is where the AI don't like to pit, but on this occasion they favour being on the right tyre. So in we all go. This is our chance now. Marduk Motorsport versus Mercedes in the pit stops. Can we get these guys and get back into P5 in this race? Here are the race leaders. Daniel Ricciardo on soft compound tyres gets jumped by Max Verstappen, I believe. Bottas is in as well for soft compound tyres. Obviously, we followed him in. And we have a fresh set of softs saved for this race. So here we go, back out on the track. Again, it's another shocking pit stop, 2.8.
Go now, pit strategy complete.
Guys,
See these tyres through to the end now.
it's just not good enough. You want to be in the fight for the championship against Mercedes, you've got to be doing better than that. But now we're going to go hell for leather for these final 2 laps. I think DRS might get enabled on this last lap. Oh no, DRS is enabled. It's not a safety car. It was just a wet period. We're good. I think we did get DRS on that straight So it did close in the gap ever so slightly to Bottas, but not by enough. This is the last lap of the Grand Prix. We don't need to worry about tyre temperatures. We're just going to absolutely send it with the tyres, with the engine, with the battery. We are going to be good on fuel. The fuel burn was a little bit better than what I was anticipating heading into this race, but Lando Norris wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Unfortunately, not a 1-2 for the team. Daniel Ricciardo, I think on one of his pit stops, didn't stop on the ideal lap, and that's cost him a podium. But Sergio Perez gets P2. Perez, ever since I selected him as my rival, has been doing amazing in this championship. But we're going to come across the line and get P6. Not a bad day.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Not a bad day indeed. We gain points on Hamilton. We don't lose out too many to Bottas in the standings. Overall, we're still in it.
Many doubted whether they could pull off the win here at Spa-Francorchamps, but they've done so in spectacular style. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on the track was today: speed. I know it sounds like an obvious thing to say, Crofty, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
Okay, so forget me. Ricciardo did get a podium in the end, P3. So not a bad day overall for McLaren. I am really intrigued to see what the championship standings are now, given that Mercedes didn't have a good day. Red Bull also get some points on those guys. So I think overall it's going to be very, very tight in the drivers and maybe even the constructors as well. But there are the DNFs, Hamilton and Rosberg. You'd think, if you didn't know any better, that they actually collided. But yeah, both those guys each having engine issues. Any other outliers in there? Ocon getting some points, Stroll P10. No, it's a pretty standard race, to be honest. George Russell, still a back marker. I bet he would have wished he had a bit more patience and waited for that Mercedes seat to open up. But instead he's an Alpha and he's now kicked out of that family. Anyway, we're only 12 points shy of Lewis Hamilton in the driver's standings now. Bottas only 4 points behind. Lando Norris shoots up to 4th. Overall, there are so many drivers in the fight for this championship. I think anyone as far down as Sergio Perez could still win this, based on how close it is right now. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting. Of course, reliability definitely going to come into it. We're going to have to maybe take an engine penalty or two to get through to the end of the season from here. But even still, with that said, I think we're going to have to develop this car to really earn these podiums, earn any future race wins on merits. We're definitely an outside chance of the championship, but we're just going to hopefully stay consistent and be in the mix to pick up any points when the championship leaders, like today, have any problems. But there we go, guys. That's been this video for today. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. Up next, we've got the Dutch Grand Prix, a circuit in which I'm not overly confident about. But the one after that is Monza. And I think maybe there, we could be challenging for the race win, based on the strengths of our car. So join me for the next race, the Dutch Grand Prix. Hopefully we can surprise ourselves and you guys at that very racetrack. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.